Hi everyone, good morning, and thank you all for being a subscriber to this channel, Done Audit the Law. I am yours truly, Jermaine Dunn. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the interest that this channel, this educational channel, has garnered from all of you, and I welcome your questions, your comments, as you see fit, and I will answer them at your questions at as soon as possible time. All right, so today we're going to talk about the Constitution, because like so many people seem to not even know that such a thing exists in Jamaica. And I can truly understand why this is so, because it appears, based on all indications, that people just, and that these public servants just do what they want whenever they feel fit. And it's like there is no law, there are no laws in most of the cases. I'm not saying in every case, but in most of the cases it does appear that there exists no set of laws, and in fact no constitution that guides how these laws are to be written and to be interpreted. So today we're going to talk about, the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom. I'm actually reading, and that is the part of the Constitution of Jamaica that speaks to your rights, your fundamental rights, which means those rights are so entrenched that nobody, fundamental, it's like the foundation of the house, That's what those rights are. Nobody, without the foundation, there exists no house. Without these fundamental rights, there exists no rights. There exists, so these are fundamental rights. There exists no you as a human. Now, like I said, these rights, though they exist in different ways in our Constitution, even before the passing of the 1948 UN Declaration, as a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, this current 2011 version that was adopted in our Constitution, it's actually the version that embodies the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All right, so Jamaica is in alignment with the international standards for human rights where this is concerned. Now, the issue of police stopping someone's vehicle is a hot topic for all of us. So many of us in our private vehicles have experienced police stopping us on the road, and in no other way but a random stop. You're just driving and this police just step out in the road and just put them in hand. And don't get me wrong, everybody. Every single law that is written under the Constitution requires that if the police stop you, you must comply. That is a requirement. So don't you ever interpret that you should not stop. When the police stop you, you must comply. That is the law, and that is constitutional, because you don't know why he's stopping you. And that is why the Constitution is written the way it's written, and I'm going to quote from it right now. So under the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom, Constitution Amendment Act 2011, this charter at section 14.1 speaks to arrest, detention. Now, many police, I don't know if it's all of them, but it looks like all of them, don't understand that once them step out in the road and put them on, and you stop, pull you over, and it's not for direction of traffic like the Road Traffic Act, section 58, that's the old act. I know the new one is coming soon. Says, it's not like that direction of traffic. When they put them on and stop and point left or right, you ought to stop. Yep, you are mandated to stop. And that, by law, is a detention. There are two types of detentions, You can either be detained out of custody, which is you're not in the police station, jail, all of that place. Or you can be detained in your vehicle in a certain space and you can't move. That is what a stop by the police is by law. It's a detention. It's not an arrest, it's a detention. Now, the Constitution says at section 14:1, that no person shall be deprived of his liberty, that's your freedom, except on reasonable grounds in accordance with fair procedures established by law in the following circumstances. This is F, part I. The arrest or detention of a person for the purpose of bringing him before the competent legal authority on reasonable suspicion of his having committed an offence. That's one. Or two, where it is reasonably necessary to prevent his committing an offence. That's it. Now, further to that, at part of section 14, part 2, or subsection 2, it says, any person who is arrested or detained shall have the right, me never say, it may, it says shall have the right, which means there's no going around that. There's no way you can go around that. And that is the right at part B, at the time of his arrest or detention, or as soon as is reasonably practical, to be informed in a language which he understands of the reason for his arrest or detention. So that means, guys, there is no going around it. Once the police stop you, though there is just no law that I've seen that says that they should, but the Constitution mandates it, which means that within every law that is written, once them stopping you, they must tell you it's your right, as is reasonable practical, why they stop you. And that's where people like me now have the argument with an officer on the road when they cite some unlawful reason, which is, they'll tell me in all the cases, they don't suspect me of committing any offense or any crime. If you want to use that bigger word, crime, They don't suspect that. And they want to tell you, papers. Justice David Batts, in the case of Emas versus the Attorney General, has made it clear, abundantly clear for those of you who have the time to go read that judgment. It's long, that the police has no right. We're in a free and democratic society, and we're under the Queen's peace, and our freedom of movement is protected by the Constitution. I know some of us will say, why we live in this nightmare, but that we actually have rights, blah, 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 but it is what it is. So if the police is going to operate under the guise that they are protecting my rights as mandated by the Constitution, and that they are operating under the law, which is derived from the Constitution, then said officer must, and I say must because it must be, that whatever he does, whenever he does what he does, it must be in keeping with the Constitution. So remember, if a police officer put up them hand and says stop, you must comply. It is the law. It is constitutional. Because you don't know if it is that he suspects you of committing a crime or that you intend to commit a crime. So you have to stop. When you stop it though, and him tell you some reason that it's not a reason that even make any sense. Don't get me wrong. It's up to you if you believe that you are wrongly being stopped and that the stop is unlawful. I'm using as many plain language as possible. And the stop is unlawful. Then you are required to comply. Comply and then challenge after. So even though I am challenging the officer, which I intend to, which is an educational challenge, and also to defend my rights on foot, since I know them and understand them so well, comply. But how? Don't you ever, if he ask you for your papers and you don't believe that he had reasonable suspicion that you committed an offense, hand the papers to him. Don't do it. Make him order you. Because if a police officer asks you for your papers and him never have reasonable suspicion that you committed a crime, and you give it to him because him ask you, guess what you just do? You have just given away your rights. You volunteered away your rights. He asked, you gave it. He didn't order you. He asked you. And that is the tactics that is used to breach your rights. Well, it's breach, but I really you give it away. Because him stop you and him ask you. And you give it to him. Just like anybody can stop you and ask you something. You either give it or not. But in stop you, make him order you. He or she order you. Let the constable order you. Whichever rank the constable has. Let the constable order you. Under an order, you must obey the order. Though it's going to be an unlawful order if it really didn't have mere reasonable suspicion or reasonable or probable cause. We'll talk about those things in another video. Comply. But only under an order by the officer, because following an order, if you fail to comply with the order, said officer, because he believes he's right, said officer can arrest you and take it another step further. From detention now to arrest, for failure to complying with what he considers to be a lawful order. So because you don't want that, humiliation and all that, like me, I comply and I give the papers. Yeah? And I challenge thereafter. Hopefully this created some perspective for you. And for all of you who are seeing me for the first time, don't watch these, and they eat certain things, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy a lot of you have been, as you said, learning one or two things. And there's a lot more for me to share and for you to learn. Thank you for subscribing. Continue to subscribe. Continue to ask your questions. I am here to provide as much information. I do not provide legal advice. I provide as much information as I reasonably can provide you with to help you to navigate this murky water where officers and public servants in general breach our rights, our fundamental rights as protected by the Constitution of Jamaica. Peace. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. From Don Only the Law.